pre-testing of the questionnaire, what are the merits and limitation of the questionnaire. So, pre-testing, we can also call this as a pilot survey. So, why do we want to pre-test a questionnaire? So, you have prepared a questionnaire and you have prepared a questionnaire with a lot of efforts in setting the questions and related to your research problem, and you have collected the questions and you have phrased the questions, you have ordered the questions, and you have made a logical sequence in the questions. You have also checked the layout, whether the questionnaire is fulfilling all the attributes a questionnaire must to fulfill. So, everything you have just done it. But now I can say that a pre-testing is nothing but a trial. You are just giving a trial for your questionnaire and you are checking whether the objective of the questionnaire what you have formulated is meeting its own or not. So, that is very important, because one of the main advantage I can say, or one of the main purpose of administering the questionnaire is nothing but that it can cater to a large number of respondents. So, you just imagine if you are just administering the response, that is the questionnaire, without a proper pre-testing, you are just administering that, there are lots of chances for the occurrence of flaws, because many a times the responses what you are intended to get so may not be so. So, you may not get the response what are you are expecting from the respondents. So, you may set a question in one intention or in your own perception, and the same way will not be understood by the respondents. That is the problem here. So, in order to overcome all these hurdles, if you are pre-testing your questionnaire, then it will mitigate such occurrences of commotions. So, we call this a pre-testing, or we call it as a pilot survey. So, it is a preliminary part of research conducted before a complete survey to test the effectiveness of the research methodology. So, this is what the pilot survey is all about. So, before going for the main frame, you are just going to have a trial version of it, and you are just going to measure its effectiveness or not. So, you are just going to just check whether this questionnaire will be fulfilling its objectives or not. And what is the purpose of pre-testing it? So, why you want to undergo a pre-testing? So, when you are going to go for a pre-testing, you will again get to know, again I can say that it is once again a chance or the opportunity for you to have a proper framing of questions. And now some wordings are not good, or some wordings are confusing, some wordings are framed which is fuzzifying you. At that time you can change those wordings, and also you can check whether the order of the questions which have been placed in the questionnaire is okay or not, and you can check whether the instructions that you have given is adequate or not, or any additional information should be given, or whether the existing information has to be deleted. You will just try to check whether the respondents are able to respond it or not. So, only to fulfill all these things we are going for a pre-testing. So, pre-testing is very essential before you could administer a questionnaire to the large number of respondents. So, why I am very much pretty emphasizing in pre-testing is, you just imagine if you are going to give a questionnaire for 1000 respondents, and from the 1000 respondents, so 3 to 4 questions they are not able to answer, not even a single person, or only a very minimum percentage of respondents have given the answer, then do you think that that particular item you have placed in the questionnaire, each item what you have placed in the questionnaire has its own significance, then automatically it will be creating a great impact in your data analysis. Then you have to go for data manipulation, so some adjustment you have to make, or again you have to go for the biased one, it will be there. You will not be having an unbiased data. So, again in order to make, because immediately for the 2 questions you cannot administer once again the questionnaire, it is a tedious process, and to avoid such repetition, to avoid such occurrences, you must be very cautious, and you must be very much strong in doing a pre-test before administering the questionnaire to your desired target group. So what are the steps in pre-testing? So here I am not going to give the questionnaire to all the respondents, that is my target group. But what I will do it, since it is a pilot survey, I just take a sample of it. To whom I am going to apply. For example, if I am going to take up the questionnaire for the IT professionals, means I take a handful of IT professionals as sample. Suppose if I am going to check about their urban areas are there, or they come from the rural areas. So maybe I can take an example even like this. I think it will be easy for you to have a better understanding. I just want to find about this impact of e-learning on the rural students, or I can say about whether the teachers are highly interested in taking up this online classes, especially rural teachers. If my focus is on the rural teachers, then I have to take a sample of teachers who are working in a rural institution. Okay. So this is what I am choosing. The sample is also very essential. So whatever your homogeneous group, you are having some criteria, that is I am going to address such kind of persons, my questionnaire is going to reach such kinds of persons. If I am going to have such decision on my target group, then similarly a representation of it, no, I am just going to take as a sample, and I am just going to give the questionnaire. And here I will be instructing the interviewers to note all respondents' remarks regarding instructions or question or wording. Suppose if one interviewer is there, or two interviews you are going to give, or three interviews are going to monitor, no, all the respondents' remarks, whatever they are giving it, I will take into consideration. Then I just go for the administering the questionnaire. Then I check the results. So these are the steps in pre-testing. So it is not a very complicated steps. I am just going to take a sample which is going to represent my target groups, and then I will be instructing my interviewers to note down whatever the respondents' remarks, what are the regarding instructions. So what is the remark here? They will be giving that they are not able to follow these questions, they need some additional information, this wording is too much, it is not fit here, I am not able to understand the meaning of this word seems to be a scientific term, this word is looks like a jargon, this word is fussifying, this word indeed difficult to follow, I cannot able to understand this particular questions, what are you trying to ask, are you trying to ask this one or that one? So you will be having a lots and lots of remarks coming out, and then you will be administering the questionnaire, then you will check out of the results. Now we will move on to the reliability. So what is the reliability here? So here the reliability mainly refers to the extent to which a measurement gives consistent results. So this is very much important in going ahead with your pre-testing. So checking whether it is reliable or not, whether the measurement is giving the consistent results or not, because it is very much important for us. You are going to administer a questionnaire for a large number of respondents, and if you are not going to get some consistent results, then really it is going to be the mere waste of time and energy. And here you must be very much cautious about the measurement it gives regarding the consistency. And you are going to check the reliability of three things: the interviewer reliability, retest reliability, internal consistency reliability. Okay, so what is interviewer reliability? This is used to assess degree to which different interviewers gives consistent interpretation of the same phenomena in case of interview administered questionnaire. Suppose if I am going to have an interview administered questionnaire, so whoever may be the interviewer, so different interviewers, no, so they will be giving a lot of interpretations. So whether all their interpretations are going to be consistent, whether it is going to have follow the same trend or not. Suppose it is going to get varied in nature, or are there any differences there between them. So those things can be checked with that. So whoever can administer this questionnaire, whoever may be the interviewer, but still whether the consistency, whether the reliable is sustained or not. And what is the retest reliability? The consistency of response. Suppose I am going to administer this questionnaire now, maybe after another time I am going to just administer the same questionnaire. Am I going to get the same result? So that is very much important, because whenever you are going to administer the questionnaire, no, the responses must be having some consistency over the period of time. The responses should not vary over a period of time to time, no. So that is very much important for us. So consistency with respect to the response, and the first one is consistency with respect to the interviewers. But how to check it? Because this is very much important, no. So we are having one statistics called kappa statistics, and this is actually being used to check both the inter-interviewer, or you can call it as inter-observer, and test-retest reliability. Suppose if you are going to get the reliability value to be 80% or above, you say that you have both the test-retest reliability and inter-observer reliability. And also the reliability of this questionnaire is tool, it is judged by estimating how well the items are reflecting the same construct. So whether they are giving you the same results or not. So whoever may be the respondents, whether are you getting the similar results, because they all belong to a homogeneous group and you expect moreover their response to be similar fashion, then definitely you just to go ahead with that. So this is exclusively being checked by the Cronbach's alpha test, and here also you have the percentage value to be 80 and above. So when this is actually proven, no, then you can say that the questionnaire is highly reliable. You can go for the validity check, and suppose if it is not reliable, then it cannot be valid at all. So this is the way you can just check about the reliability of your questionnaire, and we have a software for this, and we have even the online calculator for this kappa statistics and Cronbach's alpha, and you can check your questionnaires reliability by using these two tools. And what about the next one? It is the internal consistency reliability. So now why we need to check it? So this is the reliability. We are going to judge this reliability by estimating how consistent the results are for different items of the same construct. So if you are going to go for one particular aspect, you are going to just check it out your factor or a relationship, you are going to administer some different questions. You want to check whether they are having the internal reliability or not, because the same question if you are going to ask in a different way, whether they are going to give the same results or not. So that is very important. So impact of dental caries on the activities of daily living. So look at this one. So if you have some dental problems are there, how it is going to affect your daily living? So the respondent is saying that he has a pain due to some dental problems, but still he is not having a trouble in eating. So in this question, no, suppose if you are getting such a response, do you think that question what you have asked is correct? Because what is actually you are going to find? You are going to find that is you have the impact of dental caries on the activities. So this person is having a dental caries, but it is not going to affect his daily activities because he is not having a trouble in eating at all. So what is it meaning here? The response is fine, it is correct, but your question now is not properly framed because it is not eliciting the actual response the respondent is supposed to make in coherence with what your impact of dental caries on the activities of daily living. So this is what is called the internal consistency, and here to check this also we have the Cronbach's alpha. So whenever you have a pre-test, you can go ahead with these testing varieties like Cronbach and kappa statistics, so that you will be able to find out how far your questionnaire is reliable. And here comes the validity. So validity here refers to the degree to which a questionnaire measures what it was intended to measure. So you are setting a questionnaire to measure something. So in the previous example, it is used to find the dental caries on the activities. So whether it is finding the impacts or not. But you go for the previous one, do you think that that questionnaire will be having some validity? No, it is not measuring what is intended to do so. The person though have some dental worries, it is not affecting him at all. So there is somewhere you have gone wrong with the questionnaire. It is not properly constructed. It is having some gaps in it. So it has to be rechecked. So validity, no, it falls under 4 categories. You must have the content validity, you must have the phase validity, the criterion validity, and also you must have a construct validity. So what is the content validity? So here it refers to the extent to which a tool represents all aspects of a given social concept. So what your research is all about, what your questionnaire is focusing main on, so what is going to explore it, so what the data it is going to collect. So your questionnaire must comprises of the questions which is representing the all aspects. It must cover every aspect what are you supposed to cover. And here, to check whether your questionnaire is having the content validity, you can have an expert judgment with a primary method, because there are several researchers are there and they can give to their questionnaire to the experts, and you can get a content validity whether it is okay or not, whether it is focusing on all the aspects is supposed to get focus. So statistical test, here it is not employed here mainly, okay. And now if your content validity is good, you can go for the face validity. So content validity is very important, and only the experts can tell you whether your questionnaire is fulfilling the content validity or not. And now we will see about the construct validity before we go to the face validity. So this refers to the extent to which new questionnaire conforms, whether it goes along to the existing ideas or the hypothesis concerning the concept. So what concept you are focusing on? So whether your question is also focusing on the same concept, that is very much important. If I am going to construct a questionnaire on the impacts of online tools, whether my questions are like that, whether it is focusing on the concepts, or it must not ask question about a traditional one. Okay, it is not going to ask about the conventional teaching methods. So it must have lots and lots of questions related to the online. So in that way only you can enhance the constructive validity of the questionnaire. So we will move on to the face validity. So what is this face validity? So it is an estimate of whether an item of a questionnaire seems to be appropriate. So whether the question in the questionnaire are appropriate or not, whether it is going to get the responses in the way the researcher aims to measure it. So whether the questionnaire, you are setting it with one perception or with one intention in your mind as a researcher, because you feel that in accordance to your research problem you are setting up the questionnaire to collect the data, and you feel that okay, the target group or my respondents group to whom I am going to administer this questionnaire, so they will also be giving the responses in the same fashion what are you expecting from them. So this is like an estimate whether what are you expecting is meeting out the reality or not. So face validity checkup can be done with two methods. Either you can go with the interview or probe method, or you can go with the bilingual method. So what is that interview or a probe method? So you just take a random sample. So maybe you can take this, what if 1000 members are there, a 5 to 10% of it you are going to take. You are going to give them this questionnaire. Then the investigator will give a detailed discussion with them regarding each item, assessing their understanding, and it will be there whether any modifications can be done or not. So this is the way you do it. So you are giving them a lot of instructions. So why are you just making them to do it? Why the questions are there regarding the each item with respect to each question. So you are making them to have a better understanding, and then if they feel that they are able to understand what are you trying to say, then well and good. If not, some modification should be made to go for the decision on the final format. And what is this bilingual? So whether this item when it's going to getting translated into a regional language, you are just going to check the same way about the face validity. So whether even the questions are changed into the regional language, that time also whether the questions are meeting out the same thing or not. So you must be very much cautious about these things, because sometimes when you are going to change it, the meaning gets changed. Sometimes you will be coming across this one. The question will be there in the competitive examination in English as well as in your regional language. Then a final wording will be there. So in any case of discrepancy, the answers correct to the English language will be accepted. So not with the regional one. So depending on the internal understanding, because the regional language we have a lot of vernacular names will be there, some local terms will be there. So may not be sure how they are interpreting, how they are understanding. So these problems are quite common in this bilingual, but still also you do it with some official translators. If at all you want to do it, you just go with official translators, and again you check whether even you are going to translate in some other language, it gives you the same meaning or not. So that's about your face validity, and we'll move on to the criterion validity. So it just tells about the effectiveness of the questionnaire you are going to measure, and what are the outcomes of it, whether the outcomes are the desired one, what are the expected one or not. So whatever the responses it is being received, no, it is being developed and checked whether the outcomes are met. So this is about the criterion validity. So generally you are going to have a pretest to check the reliability and validity of the questionnaire to a great extent. You check about the content, phase, you just go ahead with about your criterion, and about the construct validity is very important. So when you go with the reliability, without the interviewer, within the responses as well as within the respondents also is very important to have a reliability. Okay, so now as a result of this pre-testing, what are you going to make it out? So you recognize the poor questions through pre-testing. So suppose you can find if there is a lack of order in the answers, you can find it. Suppose whether the respondents are able to give their answers or not. So whether they are able to give the right answers or all the answers or none of the answers, whether it is so vague for them. For example, you just think you are administering this particular pre-testing for around 100 persons as a sample you are going to take. And imagine that if the percentage of the respondents in responding one particular question is very less. Or imagine a situation where a question is not being answered by anybody. Then these things can be understood better in the pre-testing. Because when you are going to do such kinds of pre-testing, no, it will be easy for you to understand whether your respondents are answering all your questions, whether the respondents are able to give at least an answer to your question. Suppose maybe an open-ended question, at least they are able to give up a single word in that, or whether they are just leaving it very blank, not able to understand. Because you can also able to know the high proportion of don't know or do not understand the answers. So they were not able to find even what they are giving as a responses, no. So you are not able to follow it, or you are able to interpret it. And high proportion of refusal to answers, because some will be say that I don't understand, I don't know how to answer, I don't understand to answer it, I don't understand how to do that. So some people will be refusing to answer some questions. But I was telling about some sensitive questions and some personal questions, some questions which is more related to some religious, sentimental questions. So those things, no, they will be avoiding it many a times. And here, as a result of your pre-testing, your respondents sometimes they make a remark that the order of the questions can be changed. These questions can be asked first followed by the another question. So the sequence, no, because when you are framing the question, you may feel that whatever you have framed is correct. Okay, like a student who writes an examination, no, he feels that whatever he writes is correct. So whenever we are doing a question, we feel that whatever questions we are asking, because it is up to our perceptions, it is up to our idea, our conception of what I am just going to ask. So whether the same conception is there in your respondents or not, to check it only, we are going for a pre-testing. And this suggests that when you are going to have interviewing instructions or training is insufficient or not. And restudy any question. Suppose a refusal rate is over 5% or more, people are not ready to answer to your questions, then you have to go for the restudy of the questions. You can go for reframing of the questions and reordering the questions and rephrasing the questions you can make. You can delete it and even you can include it. Some people feel that you can add one or two questions. Some people will not able to follow the questions, they may require some directions. So at that time you can give some specific instructions for them. Some may feel that the general introduction seems to be little more added weightage. So all those things, no, you can have a chance to give a glow to your final questionnaire. So pre-testing is very essential before you carry out your questionnaire. They are the large scale, that is when you are going to expose this to your actual target group. So this is very important. So we'll discuss something like about the advantages of the questionnaire. So really it is cost effective. It is cheap, I can say that. It is not demanding a huge amount of money from the researcher to administer a questionnaire. It is highly flexible also for the respondents, and it gives them sufficient time Okay, no one is in a very urge or force you're going to get the reply instantly. So they are giving the time for the respondents. So the respondents know they can just reflect on it, they can have an introspect and they can give their own responses. And anonymity. Sometimes no, people will be ready to take part in the survey. People like to register their responses, but still they don't want to reveal their identity. But sometimes no, they may have a fear when dealing with some sentimental or sensitive aspects, certain things are there, they don't want to reveal their identity. Maybe I can say that if you are going to collect the data about the patients who are recovered from cancer, recovered from AIDS, at that time no, they will not be ready to reveal their identity. And sometimes also it is not good to reveal their identity at all, it is sometimes made as anonymous. But still if you want to find about their behavioral or attitudinal change after undergoing this treatment, regarding a counseling session, some psychotic disorders are there, and about their some misbehavioral problems are doing it. Suppose if you are going to administer a special questionnaire for them, no, they don't like to reveal the identity. So no one will be ready to say that yes, I was suffering from a disorder and now I'm in the recovering stage, so I am under treatment. So no person will be ready to accept it very openly many a times. So at that particular junction, no, the anonymity is very good, because you are not going to reveal your identity or details of the respondents. Okay, and large sample it can be administered. That is the one advantage, because always the data what you are collecting from the sample, from your respondents, what is actually, if you are going to have a large number of samples, then the occurrence of errors also will be getting minimized, because with a small number of samples we cannot make some many decisions. Okay, so the large number of samples being administered, so you can take some decision making on a very concrete way it will be. And it can be administered to any kind of geographical area, no restriction, that there is no say that to these people we cannot use the questionnaire, only to these people we can administer a questionnaire, not like that. So any kind of geographical area we can expose or we can use this particular questionnaire. So what are the limitations? So limitations is, sometimes there are possibilities of no and vague responses, and it demands your respondents to be sometimes skilled and trained in a type of questionnaire. If your questionnaire is very simple, then fine. The questionnaire is a little bit of advanced one, and you demand your respondents to be having awareness of all those things, and that time this is one kind of limitation. But what I personally feel is, if you are having a proper administration, then I think no such limitation of the questionnaire will take place. So here you must be very cautious about your group. To whom am I going to give my questionnaire? So who are my respondents? So only if you are going to fix your respondents, then you will be able to formulate the questionnaire in such a way that it will facilitate an easy understanding, and also such possibilities of no and vague response will be totally avoided. And if at all you are knowing about the characteristics of your respondents, so depending on that, if you are setting up the questionnaire, and then I think questionnaire will have no such limitations at all. And these are some good references, and I have also taken some of important aspects from these references, and it seems to be very good. And if you are interested, you can just go to these links and have an overall idea about the questionnaire in various aspects. So questionnaire is one of a very useful, and it is one of the excellent tool to collect data. But the entire thing what is there is, the proper administration of the questionnaire will give you the better results as you expect.